Well, I'm not a vlogger, but it doesn't look like anyone else is doing a video, so I'm going to do a video. This is for the Wanderer Rotator Mini V2. This is what it looks like, connected to my ASI 2600, and in here I have my spacers and my Beta MPCC coma corrector, and I'm just going to try to put together some videos to show you guys how it works and how the setup is. So with my camera, I needed adapters to attach it. The Rotator has female threads that are M54 in size, so whatever equipment you have, it has to convert it to M54. I've used this with both my 2600 as well as my 585 MC from ZWO planetary camera. They both connect fine and work fine. The Rotator has a power port here, DC in, and then there's the USB connection to the computer. Now I'm using this with a Go-To Dobsonian, and so the Rotator, the main thick part, goes towards the scope. Just put it in the focuser. And one thing you'll notice is that the screws I have are pretty low, and the Wanderer takes up a lot of space. So I actually have the adapter that I use with this more regularly. I got longer, I think they're 44 millimeter screws, so that I can still tighten them securely with the Wanderer in place. I mean, you can do it, it's just with gloves on and you can struggle a little bit, but with the larger ones, it's easy to put it in. So as to not upset the masses, I'm going to actually show you how I connect it with the longer screws. You put the Rotator into the focuser, and then you can see I have the longer screws sticking out that you can easily tighten without the Wanderer being in the way. I actually, especially in the winter, will use an Allen wrench and a hex key and just tighten it down even more. Just have one set aside specifically for this task. Okay, so that's how it is sitting in. You have your USB connection to your computer, and then the power port there, which would be connected. So this is Nina. I've clicked on the equipment tab and gone down to Rotator, and here's my Rotator, and I click on connect. And it gives you this panel here that shows you the direction. I always have to have in reverse. If I don't have in reverse, for some reason it has trouble rotating to get the right framing for some reason. Don't know why. Put in reverse, works perfectly fine every time. This shows the mechanical position. Not certain what that's based on, but it's really a virtual position for this Rotator. So it really doesn't matter what it is. It has a set current position as 0, which I used to use, but I learned I never needed to use it because Nina will always just figure out where it is and where it's supposed to be. And so I don't ever change this, but it does show you the position if that's of any help for you. So that's what happens when you load up Nina. And so what I do is I go into the framing wizard, and I will find my object, and so what I usually do is I slew and center to the DSO first. Once I know it's centered, then I go to slew, center, and rotate. And when I do that, the Rotator will first rotate to what it thinks the angle should be, then it will make sure it's centered, and then if it needs to rotate again, it will rotate again. And it doesn't matter where you set it, it will always be, it works great, always will be exactly where it should be. So now that's for the framing. So once I have it framed, I then go to the Wanderer software. I'm using the older software here. I haven't uploaded the new one yet. But you go to Rotator. Now you have to connect this, and this is sort of the way their software is right now, is you cannot be connected to Nina and the Rotator at the same time. And the Rotator will derotate and Nina will frame, but you don't have one interface that does both for this. They say they're working on it, but it hasn't happened yet. So what you do is you have to go into Nina, go to equipment, and you have to disconnect from Nina once you've framed it properly. And I do this as quickly as possible so that I don't have to worry about the framing changing. And then you connect to the COM port within the Wanderer console, and you connect, and then you put in your target location. And once you have that, you hit derotation, and then you'll see everything moving as it, and it tells you the rate that it's derotating, and it holds it there really, really well. I will say that the default is for counterclockwise movement with the orientation that I have the rotator in. And so if something's in the north of my east-west line, I have to have it, I leave it in I leave it in the normal rotation, which will be counterclockwise. And if I'm looking at something south of my east-west line, I have to click on reverse, and that will make it rotate in the clockwise direction. And that's about it. Again, if I want to change my framing or I want to switch my target, what I have to do is I have to disconnect, go back to Nina, connect once again in Nina, go into the framing wizard, change my framing, change my object, frame it, then disconnect again, go back to the Wanderer, connect and go. But it only takes 30 seconds, but it's a little bit of an inconvenience. And certainly if you wanted to do this automatic overnight, you couldn't until they get their software to incorporate both of those functions.